The engines of the C-17 quietened as we landed at Joint Base Louis McCord. December rain hammered against the windows, echoing the turmoil within me since our departure from Bagram. 17.5 months in Afghanistan, all I could focus on was Michelle's face, her embrace, her words of reassurance that things would be better now that I was back home. "Sullivan, shift yourself," Sergeant First Class Torres called out behind me. "Your family is waiting." Family. The term should have brought comfort, but it felt strange. The messages from Michelle had grown shorter recently, the video calls fewer. I'd attributed it to deployment exhaustion, a common occurrence for military couples at some point. I took my duffel bag and joined the row of soldiers disembarking the plane. The hangar was filled with families holding welcome home signs, children bouncing on their tiptoes, wives wiping away tears. I scanned the gathering, searching for Michelle's distinctive blonde locks and the radiant smile that always brightened when she saw me. There, my parents were positioned near the rear, Dad donning his old military coat, Mom tightly gripping her handbag. Yet, no sign of Michelle. "Jake," Mom hastily approached, drawing me into a tight embrace that bordered on frantic. "Oh, dear one, you're back. You've finally returned." "Where's Michelle?" I inquired, stepping back to scrutinize them both. Dad seemed unable to utter words, his jaw working as if chewing unspoken phrases. "She had to work," Dad stammered. "The hospital summoned her at the last minute for an emergency surgery." "On a weekend?" Mom interjected swiftly, unexpectedly, due to nursing shortage. "She wanted to be here." The journey home took 40 minutes. My parents filled the void with trivial chatter about neighbors, Dad's golf matches, anything but the information I yearned for. Anxiety heightened by my combat experiences stirred within me. Something wasn't right. In the rearview mirror, their anxious glances, Mom clenching her purse tightly, Dad driving cautiously as if any abrupt action might trigger something. Our house was unchanged from outside, still adorned with Michelle's favorite blue shutters and garden gnomes bought at a Tacoma flea market. I picked up my belongings and walked towards the door, key in hand. "Jake, wait," Mom began, but I had already entered. The living room was the first to greet me. Our wedding photos were missing from the mantelpiece, not moved, but vanished. The wall that held our anniversary pictures was now bare. The crocheted blanket Michelle's grandmother made for us, always covering our couch, was nowhere to be found. "Michelle," I called out, putting down my bags. "Babe," footsteps could be heard on the stairs. She emerged from the landing, and for a moment my heart paused. She was still stunningly beautiful, still the woman I had married 5 years ago. Her face held a funereal pallor. "Jake," she said, not with endearments but plainly, "I'm home." I sounded foolish as I told her. The flight was long, and our photos were missing. I'd revamped the place while away. She avoided my gaze, her silence echoing in the room. I inquired about her well-being, and she suggested a shower, rest, and talk later. My curiosity stirred with questions. What should we discuss? However, before I could press further, my parents emerged from behind me. Their expressions were somber. Mom's eyes brimmed with tears, while Dad seemed to have aged significantly since collecting me. "Son," Dad spoke cautiously, "perhaps you should," but I interjected sharply, asserting authority in my tone acquired during military service. "Someone needs to explain what's happening now." Michelle wrapped her arms around herself, looking vulnerable. "You're back, yet it feels like an eternity. I merely require some time to gather my thoughts." Processing might not be the right word, but you understand. You're my husband, yet in this moment, it seems more like a stranger I need to reconcile with. She whispered softly, "Just give me a few days. Rest in the guest room tonight, please." The guest room within our home. After 18 months of enduring the harsh conditions, the fear of mortar attacks every other night, watching Martinez get shrapnel wounds, helping Thompson as he bled out, waiting for a medevac that arrived too late. Through it all, your letters and picture in my pocket, your image in my helmet, the hope of returning home to you kept me going. "Very well," I found myself saying. "A few days." That night I lay in our guest bed, staring at the ceiling fan's slow rotation. Every house sound made me grip an imaginary rifle. Every passing car had me calculating distance and direction. The hypervigilance was a part of me now, expected even. During the redeployment brief, Doc Ramirez had forewarned us about it. What struck me as unusual were the icy detachment from my wife, the missing photographs, the way my parents seemed to regard me with fragility. The subsequent morning found me in an empty house. Michelle had left a note. At work. Leftovers in fridge. M. Not even a love note. I spent the day attempting to acclimate myself back into civilian life. Chores such as unpacking and doing laundry, which should have offered a sense of liberation after deployment, instead felt like wading through quicksand. Every room in our home felt disconcerting. Our bedroom I'd ventured in for civilian attire bore an unfamiliar scent. Michelle's perfume lingered, but beneath it, something else. Aftershave. Not mine. The wardrobe had been rearranged. My clothing moved to one side, making space for nothing. Empty hangers where something had recently been taken off. I reached out to Rodriguez, my former squad leader upon promotion. "Hello, Sarge, have you returned home yet?" he replied. "I arrived back a week ago. My girlfriend has enrolled us in couples therapy because she thinks I'm excessively anxious. She mentioned it was just being jumpy, but I may have dived when our neighbor's child ignited fireworks." He chuckled, though it seemed forced. "The doctor claims it's standard, referring to PTSD symptoms. How are you sleeping?" I responded curtly. "Not great." "Pay a visit to Mental Health Services, Sullivan. There's no shame in it. We've all faced horrors." I agreed, but that wasn't the source of my insomnia. The days seemed indistinguishable. Michelle worked extended hours. When she was home, she retreated to our bedroom while I took residence in the guest room like an outsider. My parents called daily, their worry evident through the phone. Friends from the base invited me out, but I declined each time. An oppressive sense of pressure built within me, unrelated to Afghanistan and instead tied to the increasing feeling that my marriage was already ending. On day 13, I decided I'd had enough. Instead of scheduling a session for PTSD, even though I desperately needed it, I set up an appointment at Behavioral Health because they provided couples counseling. I informed the intake specialist, Staff Sergeant Maria Santos, I want to save my marriage. She was petite yet formidable, with eyes that bore the weight of experience but hadn't lost hope. "Deployments put a strain on relationships," she typed as she listened. "Has your wife agreed to attend?" I hadn't broached the topic yet. She looked up from her notes. "Communication is the foundation, Sergeant Sullivan. You can't fix what you don't discuss." That night, I brought up the issue with Michelle. She was in the kitchen preparing a meal for one. "We need counseling," I stated abruptly. Her expression froze, spatula midair. "What?" I continued. "Couples counseling. I scheduled an appointment. This Thursday at 2. Dr. Foster is highly recommended." "Jake, I'm not sure. 5 years of marriage, 18 months of deployment, and you can't even look at me," I said. Setting down the spatula, she hesitated. "Very well, on Thursday." The behavioral health wing of the hospital was a recurring landscape, visited after Thompson's demise, mandatory sessions barely touching on combat's profound impact on one's spirit. Dr. Foster's office stood out warmer, adorned with genuine artwork instead of motivational slogans. "Welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Sullivan," Dr. Foster greeted us. In her mid-50s, she possessed silver-streaked hair and benevolent eyes. "Please take a seat." We settled on opposite ends of the couch. The gap between us felt vast as an ocean. "So," Dr. Foster said, initiating, "Jake, you've just returned from deployment. Michelle, how has that transition been for you?" Michelle fidgeted with her hands. "It's challenging. He's changed." "In what way?" "Nervous, irritable. He meticulously checks the locks before sleeping. He refuses to let me draw the curtains. Every statement is accurate, each a sign of PTSD according to its playbook." Dr. Foster turned to Jake. "How do you feel about being back home?" Jake responded. "It feels like I'm still on deployment." He continued, "Like something bad is going to happen." Dr. Foster acknowledged, That's very common. Hypervigilance is a common symptom. Michelle intervened. It's not just that, though. She paused, searching for the right words. I don't know how to be married to you anymore, she admitted. Her statement hung heavy in the room like smoke from an wide explosion. Dr. Foster asked gently, Can you explain further? Michelle went on, 16.5 months is a long time. People change. I changed too. I had to learn to manage everything myself during that time, the house, the bills, car breakdowns, flooded basement, all of it without your presence. Dr. Foster acknowledged her struggle. That must have been very challenging for you. Military spouses often report feelings of abandonment during deployment, but Michelle clarified, I didn't feel abandoned. I felt free. Another heavy silence fell over the room as Jake gazed at the ceiling, mimicking his past counting of days until returning home. What are you trying to escape? Dr. Foster inquired. I want to free myself from the constant anxiety, the daily fear that two soldiers might appear at my doorstep. I wish to stop concealing my true feelings when asked about my well-being by friends. Lastly, I long to cease being a military spouse. Are you considering leaving? I asked directly. I didn't say that, she replied, with Dr. Foster intervening. Let's take things slowly. When did these feelings arise within you, Michelle? I waited for her response, growing anxious when she remained silent. Eventually, she spoke up. It was in October, last October. That's precise. What transpired in October? I, I met someone, she admitted hesitantly. The world seemed to spin as my vision narrowed, reminiscent of a firefight. You met someone. Her words hit me like a blow. Brian is the person you met. A bitter taste filled my mouth upon hearing his name. You've been seeing Brian. It's not. We haven't. It's not physical, she clarified. Dr. Foster didn't dispute it. Affairs, be they emotional or physical, occur frequently during deployments. It's due to isolation and stress. I interrupted, asking, How long? She hesitated, then admitted, Since October. I stood up, saying, I need some fresh air, before leaving. Dr. Foster tried to continue, but I repeated my words and departed. Outside, the December rain had turned into sleet. An hour later, Rodriguez found me on a bench, soaked from the wet weather. Sarge, man, you're drenched, I told him without looking at him. She met someone, revealing it was 2 months into deployment. Rodriguez responded with a curse, then sat next to me, disregarding the damp bench. I'm sorry, buddy, he said. For nearly a year and a half, I thought I had a place to return to. What are your plans? I'm not sure. You could ruin her life, he suggested. I know men who did. Empty the bank accounts, take all her possessions during the divorce, spread rumors about her. That's not my character. No, I understand. You're not like that. Let's get you dry first. That evening, I transferred my belongings to the barracks. Although I still had base housing with Michelle, I couldn't remain there, couldn't feign normality. The barracks for single soldiers were dismal, made of cinder block walls, communal bathrooms, and constant noise from junior enlisted acting foolish. Yet, it was truthful. Michelle sent one message. Where are you? Barracks, I replied. We should discuss things. Through lawyers, she didn't respond. The following 2 weeks were a haze of administrative duties, updating my records, changing emergency contacts, consulting with JAG about divorce proceedings. Staff Sergeant Santos from Behavioral Health frequently monitored me, showing clear concern. You're managing this situation adequately, she commented during one encounter. Adequate. I feel like I'm sinking. You're not resorting to alcohol. You're not engaging in physical altercations. You're not harassing her. You're using the legal system. That's managing it adequately. Is that the standard for a person with PTSD who has recently discovered infidelity? Yes, that's the standard. She was correct. I had witnessed soldiers cope with betrayal in more destructive ways. Kenwright had burned his wife's clothes on the front lawn. Patterson had drained their joint account and vanished to Las Vegas. Mitchell had smashed a wall with his fist, ending his military career. I was handling it legally, appropriately. as the NCO I was expected to be. However, everything changed on December 14th, 3 weeks after my arrival and 2 weeks following our therapy session. I returned to the house while Michelle was at work to gather additional belongings. The mail was accumulating. For years, I rarely bothered with it. I sifted through the pile, finding bills amidst garbage, when an envelope stood out. It was from the Washington Department Court, addressed to me, dated November 2023, nearly a year back. While overseas, I opened it hesitantly, my hands trembling. Inside, a final decree of divorce awaited, naming petitioner Michelle Sullivan and respondent Jake Sullivan. The court had made its decision on February 1st, 2024, 10 months prior. It struck me that we'd been divorced for a decade. I read it twice more, hoping the words would change. They didn't. The judgment was entered due to my failure to respond to papers I never received while in Afghanistan. I was writing her letters, she was cashing my checks, using my insurance. My phone rang. Mom. Jake, how are you? You haven't called in days. My voice seemed detached, as if it wasn't mine. Did you know? Know what? That Michelle divorced me. In February. 10 months ago. There was a pause. I had no idea. Whispered, Jake, you knew, responded, not an inquiry. She sent the divorce documents here, said she'd inform you upon your return, claimed it would be simpler. You concealed my divorce papers. You were on duty, in combat. We couldn't. I ended the call, flung the phone against the wall where it splintered into costly fragments. The following morning, I sat on the kitchen floor of what was once my home, struggling to comprehend how I'd been divorced for 10 months without realizing it. Upon reaching Jag's office when it opened, Captain Harrison, a lawyer who seemed displeased to be there, examined the papers. This is quite unusual, he remarked, adjusting his glasses. You were on duty. The Service Members' Civil Relief Act should have safeguarded you. They can't secure a default judgment against active duty military without demonstrating they made an attempt at proper service. So it's null? Not necessarily. We'll need to prove you weren't properly served. He examined the fine print. Apparently, documents were sent to your permanent residence, your parents' address. They confessed they had kept them hidden from me. So, your parents hid legal documents to supposedly protect you. Good Lord, he massaged his temples. This could still be salvageable. Perhaps. Did your ex-wife receive any benefits post-divorce settlement? She was residing in our military housing, using my insurance, receiving my BA. For a duration of 10 months? Yes, he whistled softly. That's fraud. Federal fraud. Each instance of fraud is an individual count. We're talking about potentially lengthy prison sentences. I don't wish her to go to jail. I just want this rectified. Sergeant Sullivan, with all due respect, she stole from the government from you. This isn't solely about what you desire anymore. Maria Santos was in her office when I knocked. Jake, you appear troubled. I need assistance. Are your PTSD symptoms escalating? No. Yes, but that's not the reason for my visit. I presented her with the divorce decree. She read it, her face clouding. This is from February. I learned about it only yesterday. How could that be? I detailed the explanation. Her parents hid the documents. Michelle lived a lie for 10 months. The welfare fraud. By the end of my speech, Maria was walking back and forth, her petite frame exuding anger. What an utter, she checked herself. Pardon my language. Please complete your sentence. I can't, but I'm thinking it loud enough. She sat down, tapping her fingers on the desk. Very well. You went to JAG this morning. That's correct. Now we document everything. Every transaction, every use of benefits, every gate entry with her dependent ID. We gather evidence to construct a case so solid not even God could find a loophole. Will you assist? Jake, I've witnessed many soldiers being wronged, cheating, breakups during deployment, women like Jody taking their partners. But this, divorcing while deployed and then fraudulently claiming benefits, this is on another level. Spent the ensuing week amassing proof. Gate logs displaying Michelle's ID card post-divorce, commissary purchases on her expired dependent ID, TRICARE claims, and BA payments deposited into our shared account. Each piece of evidence further solidified the dismantling of what I had believed to be my life. Rodriguez aided in this endeavor, leveraging connections with his financial acquaintances. Brother, she swindled nearly $40,000 in benefits following the divorce. 40,000? Insurances, commissary privileges it accumulates. Repeated calls from my parents went unanswered. They attempted to visit at the barracks. However, I arranged for the duty NCO to reject their entry. A letter was left behind instead by my father. Son, we believed we were shielding you. You faced enough difficulties overseas. We erred. We acknowledge this now. Please hear us out. The missive was destroyed. Michelle also attempted to get in touch with me. Discussion has escalated to severe concerns with statements like, "This is getting out of control," and "My lawyer argues you're being irrational." Her lawyer, who seems to be financed by the money she took from me. Then followed a counterattack. 2 weeks into constructing our case, I was summoned to the commander's office. Lieutenant Colonel Roberts sat behind his desk, appearing uneasy. "Sergeant Sullivan, I've received a troubling report." "Sir." "Your former spouse and her associate have filed a restraining order. They allege you've been harassing them, making threats. They use your PTSD as proof of instability." "Sir, I haven't had any communication with her since learning about the divorce. I've been cooperating with JAG and adhering to legal procedures." "I trust you. Your record stands as a testament. However, this situation adds complexity. The press enjoys sensational stories about unstable veterans. We must handle this situation with extreme caution. What is your suggested course of action, sir?" "Keep thorough records of everything. Every encounter, every message, every sighting of you. Avoid providing them any grounds for accusation." Maria got angry when I informed her. "They aim to tarnish your reputation, portray you as a dangerous veteran, so no one doubts the deceit. It could work. Not if I have any influence." She retrieved a file. "I've been keeping track of your PTSD treatment adherence. Each session attended, each medication taken as directed, every coping method applied. You're an exemplary case of successful reintegration despite the trauma. Any judge who reviews this will see the protective order as bogus." The preliminary hearing is scheduled for January 15th. Michelle arrived with Brian and a lawyer who charged more per hour than I earn monthly. I had Captain Harrison and a pile of evidence. "Your Honor," Michelle's lawyer started, "my client is concerned for her safety." Judge Coleman inquired about the specific troubling actions exhibited by Sergeant Sullivan. "For instance," she questioned, aged and stern-faced, with eyes that bore witness to countless legal stratagems, she was. "Stalking? Harassment? Your client claims he feels constantly monitored," Judge Coleman continued. Captain Harrison rose, intending to submit proof demonstrating that Sergeant Sullivan had no contact with Mrs. Sullivan since learning about her alleged fraudulent divorce while deployed and receiving military benefits for 10 months afterwards. "Did this occur?" Judge Coleman posed the question to Michelle. Her attorney quickly consulted with her in private before replying. "Did Mrs. Sullivan acknowledge that she received military benefits after her divorce was finalized?" "This was a matter she was unaware of," Harrison interjected. "However," he continued, "we have records such as gate logs, commissary receipts, and TRICARE claims indicating Mrs. Sullivan knowingly used the benefits under false pretenses." The judge scrutinized the evidence, her countenance growing grave with each document she perused. "Mrs. Sullivan," the judge inquired, "did you or did you not receive military benefits after your divorce was finalized?" Michelle turned to look at her lawyer, then at Brian, and finally at me. For the first time since I had returned home, she met my gaze squarely. "I," she stammered, "was going to inform him. But when?" The judge's tone was as cold as ice. "After another year, when it was convenient." "Honorable Judge," Michelle's attorney began, "it seems your client may have committed federal benefits fraud. I respectfully request the protective order be denied." Moreover, I will be sending this case to the federal prosecutor's office. You may wish to engage criminal defense attorneys, Winter. Exiting the courthouse, I felt devoid of emotion, neither triumph nor contentment, only emptiness. Maria was by my truck. You've triumphed. Achieved victory? My marriage is annulled. It crumbled before I even realized. My parents deceived me. I suffer from PTSD that torments me with night terrors. What precisely did you conquer? Your honor, your privileges, justice. Justice. The term was bitter as sand. Over the subsequent 3 months, the case gained traction. The federal prosecutor, a tenacious woman named Sarah Tucker, took a personal interest. Sergeant Sullivan, what your ex-wife did isn't merely fraud. It's a betrayal of everything military families are meant to embody. I am determined to bring this matter to its legal conclusion. I informed Captain Harrison that I have no intention for her to serve time in prison. With due respect, that decision is not yours to make. She plundered the federal government, every taxpayer, and other military families who uphold regulations. The probe was broadened. Brian's security clearance was put on hold for re-evaluation, effectively ending his job as a defense contractor. Similarly, Michelle's nursing license faced scrutiny for immoral behavior. In a similar situation, my parents were summoned to give testimony regarding the concealment of their divorce documents. The military community reacted predictably. Michelle was expelled from the spouse Facebook groups she had previously belonged to. The other wives who had supported her during deployments turned their backs on her. Graffiti reading "Depend a Thief" appeared on her car, though I wasn't involved and didn't feel sorry about it. Brian attempted to save his career by implicating Michelle in the fraud. His lawyer claimed he was unaware of the wrongdoing, that he had been deceived as well. In response, Michelle's lawyer asserted that Brian had encouraged her to continue receiving benefits until Jake returned. They accused each other like drowning rats. The testimony of my parents was pitiful. Mother wept throughout the entire deposition. Dad attempted to uphold a military demeanor, but faltered when questioned about concealing legal papers from his son. He stated he believed he was shielding him from distress as there were already enough concerns. The prosecutor inquired, "Had you contemplated that by hiding these documents you might have facilitated federal fraud?" He asserted he hadn't given it thought. Fellow soldiers, including Rodriguez and his unit mates, supported him. They engaged in activities like going to the gym, shooting range, or any place to distract him from his tumultuous life. Despite not asking for updates on his well-being, they understood his condition and ensured he was never left alone with his thoughts for too long. What's the most agonizing part? I shared with Rodriguez during drinks one night, given my current limit of 2, avoiding losing self-control. He responded sympathetically, "Yes, that is the painful aspect." In March, about 4 months following my return home, a plea agreement commenced. Michelle's attorney negotiated probation and full reimbursement. There was no imprisonment, but she acquired a federal conviction permanently on her record. For years, the $40,000 she admitted stealing would reduce her income. Brian received a $10,000 fine and lost his permanent security clearance. His employer dismissed him on the day of his plea. No defense contractor wished to associate with him now. My parents faced civil liability for their part in hiding documents. The federal prosecutor chose not to criminally charge them, but they were mentioned in the civil suit to recover damages. Their retirement savings would be affected. "This is the best offer you'll get," Prosecutor Tucker told me. "Accept it, or we proceed to trial, where she might face prison time." "I accept the deal," I said. I desired closure. The final hearing was scheduled for April 10th. Michelle appeared before the judge, no longer the self-assured woman who sustained me during deployment. She seemed diminished, defeated. Brian was absent. They separated when legal troubles began. "Mrs. Sullivan," Judge Coleman said, "you've admitted to federal benefits fraud. You will serve a 3-year probation period, pay the full restitution amounting to $43,200, and complete 200 hours of community service. Do you understand that this conviction will remain on your record permanently?" "Yes, Your Honor. Do you have anything to say?" Michelle looked at me. Jake, I'm sorry. I was frightened and foolish. The judge interrupted. Mrs. Sullivan, save your apologies for those who might find them credible. After the courtroom, Captain Harrison shook my hand. The SCRA violation decision holds. The divorce is nullified. Legally, you're still married, but I assume you'll be filing dissolution papers yourself now. I have already drafted them, I replied. Good. And Jake? I'm sorry this happened to you. Maria was also present, in civilian clothing. How are you feeling? As if I can now begin dealing with Afghanistan. This entire situation has been a unique kind of battle. You won both, Maria said. Nobody wins wars, Maria. Sometimes one merely survives them. She contemplated me for a moment. You know, I'm going off duty, but you know what? What? I still have faith in you. Fancy catching up over a cup of coffee? No counseling, no professional talk. Just us, two individuals with shared experiences, enjoying a beverage. I'm in for that. We headed to a cozy spot away from the base. As it turned out, Maria too had her own military experiences, her own heartaches. We chatted until the establishment closed, then continued talking in my truck till dawn broke. I ought to leave, she said eventually. Yeah. Yet, neither of us made a move. Jake, even though your divorce isn't officially over yet, when it is, I'd like to repeat this coffee date. Was the coffee that delicious? She chuckled. Something along those lines. Over the following months, life gradually regained shape. The divorce was finalized uncontested in May. I relinquished the house to Michelle. I no longer wanted it. Too many specters haunted its halls. My parents contacted me repeatedly. I responded for the first time in June. Just a moment, I informed Dad when he phoned. Jake, we're sorry. We were wrong. We violated your trust and recognize that. We don't expect forgiveness, but we want you to know we love you. Trustless affection holds little value, Dad. I understand. We all do. Are you considering repairing what's broken? We'll be ready if you are. Perhaps not right away, but perhaps in the future. Your sacrifice was more than they deserved, but nurturing anger is like holding a live grenade. It will eventually destroy you as well. When the unit departed again in July, I remained designated for behavioral health. It pained me to see them go without me, but Maria, who had become more than just a friend by then, kept me anchored. You have nothing left to prove, she reminded me. You served your time. You bear your scars, both visible and invisible. Let someone else shoulder the burden for a while. She was correct. I'd been bearing a heavy load since before deployment. Michelle's infidelity, my parents' deception, the image of Thompson dying in my arms, Martinez learning to walk again, the ever-present hypervigilance that transformed every door into a possible breach, every crowd into a potential threat. I began assisting the Warrior Transition Battalion, aiding fellow soldiers in their reintegration process. To my surprise, my experience was not extraordinary. I encountered betrayals, fraud, families who concealed harsh truths under the guise of assistance. I became the person others sought out when their lives crumbled. Private Tucker questioned me after his wife drained their accounts while he was at NTC. How do you overcome this? I responded. You don't overcome it, you traverse through it. One day at a time, one step forward, and eventually you recognize you've crossed over. Michelle reached out to me once more in August via her lawyer. The letter read, Jake, although you might discard this, I want you to understand that I did love you. I was simply too weak and fearful to love you genuinely. Brian was simpler. He was present. He didn't suffer from nightmares or check doors or bear unseen wounds. I chose the coward's path, and I will regret it forever. I expressed the sentiment, I hope you find someone who is worthy of you. To Maria, she queried, Do you truly think so? I replied, irrelevant. She chose her path. I chose mine. When she inquired about my choice, I embraced her and confessed, choosing to trust again, believing not everyone will break that trust, choosing you. She responded with a kiss, alleviating the heaviness for the first time in months. In September, Rodriguez came back from deployment bearing a Purple Heart and a travel pass. And Wide took 3 fingers from his left hand. I was there when he stepped off the plane, Maria beside me. "Looking good, Sarge," he said, acknowledging Maria. "Feeling good, comrade." His wife rushed to him, mindful of his injuries, yet unable to contain herself. Witnessing them, I felt a twinge, not of envy, but of understanding. Had that been Michelle and me if she had been stronger, if she had chosen differently? "You all right?" Maria inquired, interpreting my facial expression. "Yes, simply contemplating paths untraveled." "Regretful?" "No. All events culminated in my arrival, at you. In this circumstance, I wouldn't alter it, not even the act of betrayal. In fact, that betrayal, particularly that one, it imparted wisdom about who could be relied upon and who couldn't. What I was worth, that's priceless intelligence." October brought word through military networks. Brian departed the state, securing a job in insurance sales in Ohio. Michelle worked at a small clinic beyond Spokane, her criminal record preventing employment at major hospitals. My parents met their part of the civil judgment and withdrew into peaceful retirement, losing touch with their veteran community ties due to their actions. "Justice," Maria said upon hearing. "Punishment," I clarified. "Justice implies none of it occurred." "You're getting deep, Sullivan. A side effect of too much counseling." She chuckled. We excelled at that now, laughing. It took months to recall how, but we managed to find it once more. The promotion board results were released in November. In a subdued ceremony, attended only by our unit and families, Rodriguez promoted me from staff sergeant to sergeant first class. Someone hollered for a speech. I surveyed the faces of my comrades, soldiers who'd stood beside me in tough times. Maria, radiating pride. Even Captain Harrison graced us with his presence. 2 years ago, I believed I understood what returning home meant. I was mistaken. Home isn't a location or an individual. It's the people who stay by your side when all falls apart. It's those who help you rise when you can no longer stand. It's learning to trust again when trust seems unattainable. You have all shown me that. Thank you. The applause was sincere, not the customary clapping at most ceremonies. These individuals had earned a place in my life through their loyalty rather than taking the easier route of betrayal. That night, Maria and I sat on the porch of my new apartment, modest yet mine, free from associations with Michelle. "SFC Sullivan," she said tentatively, testing the sound. "It suits you perfectly. The importance of companionship outweighs the value of rank. Are you becoming sentimental, Sergeant? Perhaps a hint of it." She moved closer to me as we watched the sun set over the base. Michelle was managing her own repercussions somewhere. My parents were struggling with their decisions. Brian was embarking on a life he hadn't planned for. Yet, in this moment, I found myself precisely where I ought to be. The heightened alertness persisted. I continued to check locks, to prefer the wall's embrace, to startle at unforeseen noises. But I had learned to coexist with it, to adapt, to prevent it from shaping me. "I love you," Maria whispered. This was the first time she had said those words. "I love you too. Despite all our burdens, precisely because of them, they're what shaped us into who we are. Weary warriors finding solace in each other. Battle-hardened warriors. We aren't shattered. We've merely been refined. Molded by conflict, shaped by deceit, strengthened by endurance. You've been delving into poetry again." Yearning for a reprieve from deployment, I found myself assigned to recruiting duty instead. A fellow soldier had warned me that this was where strong encos often ended up. "You'll dislike it," he said. 3 years of propagating Army values while struggling to embody them myself. December approached once more, marking a year since I returned home to deceit. "You'll despise it," Rodriguez cautioned. "Recruiting's the place where good encos meet their demise." Yet, I harbored hope that this change might help me discover who I am beyond the battlefield. "Yes, perhaps, but I require a respite from the endless cycle of deployment," I said, remembering Rodriguez as he embodied forgiveness instead of seeking revenge, rebuilding after betrayal, and finding love following loss. As the change of command ceremony unfolded, awards were bestowed upon deserving soldiers. My mind wandered until they announced my name, Sergeant First Class Sullivan, present yourself. I marched forward, assuming my place before the battalion commander as the citation was read aloud. For outstanding moral valor against personal hardships, for upholding military decorum and discipline amidst intense provocation, and for embodying integrity as a model for all non-commissioned officers, Sergeant First Class Jake Sullivan receives the Army Commendation Medal. The commander affixed the medal onto my torso. Your response to betrayal with grace and legal proceedings, rather than retaliation or vengeance, exemplifies military professionalism. Well done, Sergeant. I resumed formation. The medal's weight trivial compared to everything else I bore. However, it symbolized that doing the right thing mattered, even when the wrong path might have seemed simpler and potentially more gratifying. Afterward, Maria approached me. Commendation for not succumbing to madness at first. I had support in maintaining my sanity. Indeed, you did. She adjusted the medal on my chest. You're aware that Michelle was served divorce papers this week. Saw it on the legal records. Who is getting divorced? A contractor from her clinic, it seems. She was unfaithful as well. I felt nothing, neither satisfaction nor vindication. Instead, a faint sadness washed over me for Michelle, who she has transformed into, or perhaps always was. Patterns, I muttered. People seldom alter unless they choose to. She doesn't desire change. What about us? Have we evolved? Maria pondered. No, we've merely become more authentic, discarded the irrelevant aspects, and preserved what mattered. That evening, I reached out to my parents for the first time in months. Jake, Mom's voice quivered with anticipation and hope. I'm getting married next month, I declared without preface. A small ceremony. You aren't invited, but I wanted you to be informed. Oh, we understand. Is she treating you well? She too is a veteran of conflict. She comprehends in ways Michelle never could. That's beneficial. We're pleased for you. I'm not calling to reconcile. Perhaps later, but not now. I just wanted you to hear it from me instead of through the grapevine. Thank you for that. Jake, affirmative. In spite of all that has transpired, we hold love for you. I am aware of this fact, and it exacerbates the situation. I ended the call, feeling somewhat liberated, inch by inch progression toward a potential redemption. On January 2026, Maria and I exchanged vows in a humble ceremony at the base chapel. Rodriguez stood as my best man, despite his missing fingers. Her sister served as her maid of honor. A total of 20 attendees, all military or veterans. Individuals who grasped that love was a decision one made repeatedly, not an emotion that perpetuated itself. Do you, Jake Sullivan, commit Maria Santos to be your lawfully wedded spouse, to hold and cherish her during times of sickness and health, throughout deployments and reunion, through nightmares and recovery, for as long as both shall live? I do. We had requested the chaplain to personalize our vows. They didn't encompass what we were pledging to each other in traditional vows. Will you, Maria Santos, promise Jake Sullivan to be your lawfully wedded husband, to support and keep him in barracks and war zones, through PTSD and healing, through the physical and psychological scars of service, as long as you both remain alive? I will. By the authority bestowed upon me by the U.S. Army and the state of Washington, I now declare you husband and wife. We kissed, and the small crowd burst into cheers. These were our people, our chosen family, those who had stood with us when standing was tough. At the reception, beer and barbecue in Rodriguez's yard, Captain Harrison, now Major Harrison, took me aside. Jake, I wanted to tell you something. Michelle's fraud case is being utilized as a teaching tool at JAG School, what signs to look for, how to prosecute, how to safeguard soldiers on deployment. Your case will assist in preventing such events from recurring for others. Good news. Additionally, discussions are underway about congressional testimony. The Armed Services Committee is examining ways to enhance SCRA protections. They seek your input from someone with prior experience. I'll ponder over it. Incidentally, he presented me an envelope. It arrived via formal procedures. Inside was a missive from Michelle's attorney. She sought approval to personally apologize, a condition of her probation under restorative justice. "What are your thoughts?" I inquired from Maria, displaying the letter. "It's up to you. You owe her nothing." "I don't," was my response. I tore the letter into two pieces. Certain doors should remain shut. February saw us deployed to Fort Jackson, recruitment duty in South Carolina. Coincidentally, Maria received orders to the same post. Sometimes the Army gets things right for dual military couples. "Prepared for this?" she questioned as we were packing. "Ready to depart from here?" I responded. "Yes. Too many specters linger." "Will they trail us?" "Specters are persistent, but they grow less bothersome with distance." Moving day arrived. As we drove off the post for the last time, I noticed Michelle in a downtown coffee shop. She was by herself, engrossed in her phone. As we went past, our eyes momentarily connected. In that instant, I saw a mix of recognition and remorse, possibly sorrow or self-pity. I chose not to greet or acknowledge. We continued on our way. "Are you all right?" Maria inquired. "Yes, I'm fine. Closing a chapter," I replied. "What will the next one be called?" I admitted. "I haven't decided yet. We'll write it together." Fort Jackson was unique. The recruiting pace was unyielding, yet predictable. No mortars, no wides, just targets and high school students who believed Call of Duty prepared them for reality. "Ever regretted joining?" A prospective recruit questioned me about my decision, given all the hardships I'd faced. I pondered over Thompson, Martinez, Michelle, my parents, and the wounds, both physical and emotional. "No," I confessed truthfully. "The Army didn't deceive me. People did. The Army provided me with comrades who had my back, survival skills, and the fortitude to rebuild. It gave me a reason when I lacked one and a family when mine fell short. That's a price worth paying." The child joined up, choosing infantry, a role I had filled decades ago. Tia excelled in her position at the Warrior Transition Battalion, aiding soldiers recovering from injuries. An unforeseen power couple, we were two wounded veterans who found healing in each other's fractures. "We should pen a book," she proposed one night. "Our narrative. Assist others in similar situations." No one would believe it. Divorced for 10 months without prior knowledge, parents concealing documents. It's too unbelievable. Truth is more bizarre than fiction. Yes, but fiction needs to be coherent. We chuckled, yet the notion lingered. I began writing at night, making sense of the past 2 years through written expression. It was a unique form of therapy, transforming disorder into a coherent story. May 2026. A call from an unrecognized number. "Sergeant First Class Sullivan, this is Senator Patricia Williams from the Armed Services Committee." "Senator, with due respect, I've moved on from my past," replied Sergeant First Class Jake Sullivan. "However, your testimony could aid in safeguarding thousands of deployed military personnel," they were reminded. In response, he agreed to support the proposed Sullivan Act, which ensures automatic stays on all civil proceedings during deployment with no exceptions. As he sat before the committee in Washington's sweltering June heat inside the imposing Capitol building, he felt a sense of history surrounding him. "Sergeant Sullivan, please share your experience with us," they asked, to which he responded by detailing his deployment, the hidden divorce, the fraud, and betrayal during that time, highlighting the failure of systems meant to protect service members. I maintained a calm and formal tone, yet noticed several committee members jotting down notes with agitated expressions. To which Sergeant Sullivan, Senator Williams, responded upon my conclusion, "What could have averted this situation? Military channels compulsion for notifications, Senator, papers delivered to units instead of home addresses, automatic restraining orders that can't be lifted without the service member's explicit approval, harsh penalties for deceit, not just reparations. The punishments weren't severe enough. Senator, my ex-wife received probation for stealing $40,000 while I was in active duty. If I had stolen $40,000 from the Army, I would be in Leavenworth. Your point is noted. Thank you for your service and testimony." Upon leaving, Maria embraced me warmly. "You did well." "Did I? It feels like reopening old scars." Scars often need fresh air to heal effectively. The Sullivan Act was passed in September. Not everything I'd hoped for. but improved protections compared to before. My name etched into a law that will outlast me. Thompson and Martinez would have found it amusing. Jake Sullivan, the former Article 15 recipient for tardiness to formation, now has a law named after him. Rodriguez contacted him upon hearing the news. Congressional testimony. Laws named after you. You're practically a celebrity. Yes, indeed. I'm not joking. You are the one who persevered through betrayal with grace. That resonates with people. I'm simply a man who chose not to conform to their expectations. A man they expected to become dangerous and unstable due to my military background. That should be ordinary, but it isn't. It is. October 2026. 2 years since the divorce disruption. Life had a rhythm now. Recruitment during the day, writing at night. Maria by my side throughout. We discussed children, perhaps when the time was right. About life beyond the army. About growing old together. Then the call that altered things once more. Jake, my father's voice, but weak. What's wrong? It's your mother. She suffered a stroke. The doctors say days, maybe a week. I felt nothing. Then everything. Then nothing again. Jake. I'll consider it, I said, ending the call and informing Maria. You ought to leave, she advised. They deceived me. Indeed. And you'll rue not bidding farewell. Take my word for it. She was correct, as usual. The hospital in Tacoma bore the familiar scent of disinfectant and hopelessness. My mother appeared tiny in her bed, machines keeping her alive. My father sat beside her, aging visibly, each of his 70 years etched on his face. Jake hesitated, unsure. Dad, my father replied, she can hear. Speak to her, they believed. I reluctantly took the seat in the uncomfortable chair, staring at the woman who nurtured and loved me, yet betrayed me. Hello, Mom, it's Jake, I managed softly. I'm here. I'm doing well. Maria and I are getting along. You'd appreciate her. She's resilient, like you used to be. Before fear overtook you. Before you opted for protecting me over trusting me. Her eyelids fluttered beneath closed lids. I'm still enraged. A part of me will always be angry. You stole my choice, my autonomy. You made decisions on my behalf instead of allowing me to make them. That's not love, Mom. That's control. Dad made a sound, yet I persisted. Yet I recall the favorable moments. The deliveries that managed to come through. The letters prior to the turn of events. The mother who cultivated a son resilient enough to endure deception, including yours. So, I forgive you, not for your sake, but for mine. Carrying this resentment is gradually taking my life, and I have too much living to do now. Her hand twitched subtly, perhaps reaching for mine, perhaps a reflex action. I interpreted it as deliberate. I took her hand. I love you, Mom, in spite of everything, because of everything. Rest now. She passed that night. Dad phoned at Zothrezuzer. He said she died peacefully. After your departure, she smiled. The funeral was intimate. Military honors were accorded to her since she'd been an army wife for 30 years prior to the betrayal. I stood in uniform, rendering a salute as they folded the flag. Dad seemed shattered. Jake, I understand I have no right to ask, but coffee, just coffee. If it's what you desire, I'll stay away from you forever. Maria tightened my hand. She planned to wait in the car. In a Denny's, Dad and I remained, two men with words that seemed insufficient or overabundant. He admitted she couldn't forgive herself, swallowed by guilt. The doctor attributed it to stress. A mistake, he confessed, a choice we made wrongly. We saw the warning signs then, but we were bound, unable to reverse the course. You could have told me the truth. Yes, we could have. He stared into his coffee. I'm sorry, son. I'm not asking for your forgiveness. Just letting you know. I'm sorry for being unable to support you when you needed us the most. I understand. That's all I can offer now. We drank our coffee in silence. As he stepped outside, he turned back. Jake, those thoughts about self-forgiveness you shared with your mother, maybe contemplate them with me as well. Not yet, not soon, but someday. Maybe. That's more than I deserve. I observed him departing, an elderly soldier who had succumbed to his battle against conscience. Maria remained, as ever, patient. How did things fare? I'm uncertain yet. Ask me again in a year. By December 2026, news arrived. The Sultan secured the first successful prosecution. In Georgia, a spouse attempted to divorce a deployed soldier, ran afoul of the new regulations, and faced potential imprisonment. Your law has bite, Lieutenant Colonel Harrison phoned to tell me. Agreed. Additionally, Michelle's probation officer contacted me. She seeks early termination of her probation, requires victim input. What are your thoughts? You're inquiring? I'm merely the messenger. After contemplation, I decided. Michelle had paid half the restitution, finished her community service. By all accounts, she lived quietly in Spokane, working and maintaining a low profile. Approve it, I said. Indeed. She is now insignificant in my narrative, Harrison. Let her be inconsequential in her own. 3 years since the infidelity, January 2027. Maria expecting our first child, who will bear the name Thomas in honor of Thompson, who didn't return. A son, the ultrasound confirmed. We'll call him Thomas as a tribute to Thompson. Maria questioned, her hand resting on her expanding belly. Do you think we'll be good parents? We'll be truthful parents, he responded. That's more important than being good. And with our past, especially with our past, we understand the price of betrayal. We won't let our son bear that cost. Dad now calls monthly, brief exchanges, gauging the potential for reconciliation. I informed him about the baby. A grandfather, he said, awe in his voice. I will become a grandfather, biologically. Jake, I responded, it's too soon, far too soon. I understand, I do. March, Rodriguez visited with his family, his wife pregnant with their third child. He commented, look at us, two damaged soldiers building families. Are you no longer seeking revenge? He asked. I sought it, oh yes, I did. But living well is the best retribution. You've given up on revenge? No, not given up. Just found something better. Revenge consumes energy I need for other constructive purposes. Instead, I am focusing on creation rather than destruction. That's quite philosophical of you to notice. I've learned that through years of therapy. We shared a moment of normalcy, watching the kids play in our yard. In the wake of everything, we found normalcy. Then Michelle phoned, the first time I heard her voice in over 2 years. Jake, don't hang up yet. Just 30 seconds. I'm getting married. He's a good man, fully informed and understanding. I wanted to apologize. Not for legal issues, but for what I did to you, to us. Okay? That's it, okay? What do you want, Michelle? Redemption. I'm not a judge. Forgiveness. That power is no longer mine to grant. If you wish to apologize, then apologize to the soldier who may not return home due to your role in normalizing betrayal of deployed service members. I recognize the pain I caused you. However, you didn't wound me, Michelle. You annihilated me. Yet, here's the irony. I rebuilt. Not just surviving, but thriving. I needed to express this to someone who truly comprehends the essence of love. Thank you for showing me the compromise I was accepting. You didn't love me. You loved the concept of me, my advantages, and the prestige of being a military wife without experiencing the genuine sacrifices. That's not love. That's parasitism. Jake. Farewell, Michelle. Don't reach out again. I ended the call. Maria quizzically arched an eyebrow. Are you all right? Yes. I felt compelled to speak out. Closure, I suppose. Do you feel better now? Indeed, yes. May 2027. Thomas Jake Sullivan was born at 0347, healthy and beautiful. Flowers arrived from his father. I didn't discard them. He resembles you, Maria remarked, worn yet glowing with joy. Unfortunate yet fortunate child. He has a father who understands the value of integrity and pays for it regardless. Rodriguez and his wife were the initial visitors. Uncle Rodriguez had already procured Thomas's first army onesie. Beginning the indoctrination early? Certainly. This child will grow up understanding what genuine loyalty entails. As I cradled my son, I contemplated our voyage. 4 years since Afghanistan, 3 years since the betrayal. A lifetime of transformations condensed into instances that fractured and mended me. What are your thoughts? Maria inquired. That he would never question his love, never ponder if we would pick him, never discover we concealed difficult truths as we believed he couldn't bear them. That's a considerable pledge for a newborn. Yes, but it's the absolute minimum. The fundamental requirement. June. Father requested to meet Thomas. I consented. A park in Olympia was chosen. He seemed older, grayer, and smaller. Upon seeing Thomas, his face contorted. He's beautiful. Indeed. Dad, allow me to clarify. You are meeting him because Maria persuaded me that everyone deserves a chance to know their grandfather. But you are not yet his grandfather. That must be earned. If you desire a relationship with him, you must earn it every day, without deceit, without falsehoods, without deciding what he can or cannot handle. Breach that trust once, and it's over. Do you comprehend? Because you did not understand when you hid my divorce documents. Now I comprehend. Lessons gleaned from loss surpass those from lectures. He cradled Thomas delicately, as if handling priceless glass. My boy gripped his father's digit firmly. A firm grasp, Dad remarked. Sullivan Gene, may he be good, not the one who believes they know more than everyone else. I too am working on that. We sat in an uneasy truce, comprising 3 generations of Sullivan males, each burdened by their own scars. I'm penning a book, I announced abruptly, encompassing everything. All of it the deployment, Michelle, you and Mom, the entire tale. Fair is fair. Your narrative to share. It doesn't flatter you. Shouldn't. We don't deserve flattery. But I also pen about what comes next. The endeavor. Something is preferable to nothing. Yes, sometimes. July 2027. The book secured a publisher. Betrayed in battle. A soldier's account of love, loss, and legal triumph. Not my choice, but marketing understood what resonated with readers. It's sensational, Maria said, skimming the cover blurb. Michelle may not sue, as truth offers complete defense. Dad is aiding, submitting documents and testimony, claiming it as penance. Is it? It serves some purpose. The book launched in September, garnering modest attention. Military spouse groups deemed it essential reading. JAG incorporated it into their collection. I conducted interviews with Maria by my side. We carefully constructed the storyline. This wasn't about vengeance or malice. It was about safeguarding service members, opting for legal proceedings instead of violence, and healing after deception. Michelle remained silent publicly. Brian vanished entirely. However, the book ignited discussions that were long overdue. In October 2027, 4 years since the homecoming, Thomas took his first steps in our living room, Rodriguez capturing the moment while his children cheered. Future soldier right there, Rodriguez declared. Future whatever he chooses to be, I countered. Even a Marine. Let's not get carried away, we chuckled. Maria recorded the instance, the bond, the family we constructed from the remnants of the one that fell apart. That night, Dad phoned. Jake, I finished the book. Well, it's just fair, more than I deserved. You contributed to it. Still, you could have wrecked us entirely. You didn't. That's not my nature. No, it isn't. Your mother would be proud of the man you've grown into, partly because of us, partly despite us, because of us. Perhaps. Jake. Yes, thank you for the opportunity with Thomas, for not abandoning me completely, for striving to be better than we were. I'm trying, Dad said. So am I. November brought unanticipated announcements. The Army proposed my promotion, Master Sergeant Sullivan, but it meant rejoining a frontline unit, likely another deployment. The decision is yours, Maria said. You can make it work either way. I've served my deployments, earned my wounds. So I think I'm done. In 20 years, I'll be eligible for retirement. Would you leave the Army? If you choose to. Abandon the organization, camaraderie, ideals, insights these endure eternally. What would you act upon? Pen a letter, deliver a speech, champion a cause. Retired Sergeant First Class Sullivan holds a more appealing title. not as attractive as merely Jake, spouse, parent, survivor. December 24th, 2027, the eve of Christmas. 4 years since the therapy session that flipped everything upside down. Thomas busied himself with crumpled wrapping paper while Maria and I enjoyed our small family's harmony. The doorbell startled us, unannounced. I peeked through the peephole, my hand automatically reaching for a weapon that was absent. Old reflexes. My father stood on the porch, clutching a modest gift. I wasn't invited, he admitted when I opened the door, but it's Thomas's first real Christmas. There's something for him and you. Maria emerged behind me. Admit him, it's Christmas. My father entered cautiously, as if our home might implode. He handed me an envelope. What's this? Open it, he said. Inside were documents, legal papers. In Thomas's name, a trust fund was established using the house he and his mother jointly owned, as Thomas had sold it due to being unable to reside there because of numerous lingering spirits. I decided to sell it, he clarified. It wasn't a place I could stay anymore. This move was not an expression of remorse, but rather a means to derive something positive from our setbacks. Dad, this isn't an apology. There are no words enough to express my regret. It's just ensuring Thomas has what he should have had: security, options, freedom from dependence on those who might deceive him. This is excessive. It's not sufficient, but it's all I can offer. Thomas ambled towards his father for support, looking up at Maria with eyes reminiscent of mine. Gamma, he said, still struggling with the concept of Grandpa. Dad glanced at me, seeking confirmation. I acknowledged him with a nod. Yes, buddy, Grandpa's here. We didn't celebrate carols or pretend that everything was all right again, but we shared the quiet companionship of four individuals coping with the aftermath of deception, finding an unexpected sense of tranquility amidst the struggle. January 2028, my retirement ceremony. Modest, similar to our wedding. Rodriguez spoke, his missing fingers not hindering a sharp salute. Sergeant First Class Sullivan embodies the ENCO's creed. He opted for the challenging right over the effortless wrong, upheld honor when betrayed, displayed dignity when devastated, and fostered hope when shattered. He serves as an ideal we should all strive to emulate. Maria affixed my retirement badge, while Thomas, dressed in a miniature suit, handed me my retirement certificate with a solemn 2-year-old seriousness. Thank you for your service, he said, repetitively practiced. The gathering chuckled. I scooped him up, embraced him. Thank you for making it worthwhile, I murmured. Following the ceremony, individuals recounted tales, the soldiers I assisted through betrayals, families dealing with deployment's aftermath, the transformations my case brought about in safeguarding service members. Michelle was not discussed. She had become what she deserved: a warning tale, a footnote, a lesson on what not to do. That night, Maria and I sat on our porch, Thomas playing with toy soldiers Rodriguez had presented him. Any regrets? Maria questioned. About retiring, about the whole situation. I pondered over it: deployment, deception, fraud, justice battle, gradual reconciliation with my father, the family we've nurtured from the ground up. No regrets, everything steered me towards this, to you, to him, to our life. Even the suffering, especially the suffering. It showed me what I could endure, my worth, what genuine love looked like when I found it. I love you, Jake Sullivan. I love you too, Maria Sullivan. Thomas glanced up from his playthings. Love too, he declared, then resumed his important work of creating soldier sounds. Perfectly imperfect, ours. The sun was setting over Fort Jackson, coloring the sky with military hues. Somewhere, Michelle is living with her decisions. Brian is selling insurance in Ohio. My parents' betrayal cost them everything, but perhaps, slowly, is teaching them something. But here, now, in this instant, none of that matters. I am home. Truly home. In contrast to the house I hadn't anticipated upon that C-17's landing 4 years prior, it became my home, a home earned through endurance, honesty, and choosing reconstruction over retaliation. Rodriguez messaged, "Congratulations on retirement, comrade. You triumphed." I replied, "No victors in war, but yes, I persisted unscathed." That's victory, You eccentric philosopher. Perhaps he was correct. Maybe survival with honor represented triumph enough. Mayhap opting for legal recourse over vengeance, reconstruction over retaliation, and forgiveness over eternal fury was a victory. Possibly that was the triumph. Thomas nestled into my embrace, weary from play. "A tale, Daddy?" he inquired. "What kind of story?" I asked Maria for consent. "Once upon a time," I started, "there existed a soldier who journeyed afar to safeguard others. During his absence, some individuals weren't kind to him. However, instead of responding in kind, he employed his words and adhered to the rules. And eventually, he returned home to people who genuinely cherished him, like you." "Indeed, father," he affirmed. "Like me as well?" she asked. "Especially mommy," he replied. "And me too," I added. "Most importantly, you," he said, finding comfort in this condensed version of our complex reality. One day, I'd share all the details about deceit and resilience, about valuing dignity over annihilation, about the price of honesty and its value. But not tonight. Tonight, we were simply a family on a porch, witnessing sunset, appreciative of the path that led us here. My phone vibrated. An unknown caller. I almost ignored it, but didn't. "Yes, this is Rachel Thompson from 60 Minutes. We'd like to talk about your tale, the Sullivan Act, the modifications in military spousal protections. Would you be open to an interview?" I glanced at Maria, at Thomas, at our crafted life. "Send me the specifics. I'll ponder it." "Delightful. Your narrative could aid countless service members. That's the sole reason I'd participate." After ending the call, Maria raised a brow. "National television, perhaps? If saving one soldier from my ordeal makes it worthwhile. Even after retirement, I continue the noble struggle. Not all battles cease with discharge documents." Dad messaged. "Saw Rodriguez's retirement images. Proud of you," I replied. "Yes, Dad, I'm proud of the person you became, despite me. More so because of me in some ways. Despite and because of me. At least partly because of me. The positive aspects, if anything. I love you, my son." After a lengthy pause, I typed back, "I love you too, Dad." Mostly sincerely, almost entirely. As twilight descended, we retreated indoors. Thomas slept soundly after his eventful day. Maria and I stood in his room, watching him sleep. "Do you think he'll join the army?" she wondered. "I fervently hope not. Indeed, perhaps. If he does, he'll understand what betrayal entails, the value of loyalty, the essence of integrity. He'll be ready for conflict, for humanity. Conflict is foreseeable. People are the real threat." We returned to our room, in our home, in our life, crafted from remnants. Whispered affectionately, we moved gently, with the profound gratitude of individuals who understood the cost of losing everything yet still chose faith anew. In the shadows, Maria murmured, "Confirm we've prevailed. We have indeed, over every hardship, deceit, swindle, litigation, and domestic strife. We persevered. Yes, we did. Let me tell you something remarkable." "What?" "Michelle must face knowing she let go of a man who would have fought for her, who opted for the law over retribution, who reconstructed his life stronger without her. That's bound to hurt. Possibly. But I'm past that." "Indeed, I am. She means nothing to me now. A lesson learned. An obstacle avoided. A hidden blessing. Quite mature, you might say. That's therapy. Intensive therapy." We chuckled softly, ensuring not to disturb Thomas. "Jake?" "Yes." We triumphed. "Yes," I concurred, drawing her near. "Indeed, we did." Beyond us, Fort Jackson fell silent as soldiers in the barracks dreamt of homecoming. Spouses awaited deployment's end. Some relationships would endure. Some wouldn't endure betrayal upon returning home, as I did. However, possibly due to the Sullivan Act, books, and veterans like Maria and me sharing our experiences, fewer would bear their pain in silence. Fewer would lose benefits. Fewer would opt for violence instead of legal recourses. Perhaps that was the true victory: systemic change rather than personal triumph, making the journey smoother for those who followed. Thomas shifted in his sleep, murmured about soldiers, my son who would grow up aware of truth, even when it hurts. who would comprehend that love means choosing someone daily, particularly on tough days, who would never question his worth because we'd never provide him reasons to do so. "What are you contemplating?" Maria inquired, sensing my wakefulness. "I'm grateful for everything. The betrayal, everything. Because it resulted in you. In him. In this. You're grateful your ex-wife betrayed you. I'm glad I discovered her true nature before investing more years. Content with discovering what I could endure. Grateful for encountering genuine affection rather than merely simulating it. That's one perspective. The one that avoids bitterness. She tenderly kissed me. I cherish your scarred, intellectual spirit. Not just your heart, but other parts as well. Which aspects? Those that opted for dignity over ruin. Those that reconstructed rather than retaliated. Those that dared to love again despite the peril. Those are all heart attributes. Then I adore all your heart qualities. We rested then, entwined, secure in our belief of having made the right choice. That faith, once shattered, could be mended with the appropriate companion. That deceit wasn't the final act, just a scene that paved the way for better ones. Conclusion. 5 years on, at Thomas' birthday party, his 7th, the yard filled with children from his school, mostly military families. Rodriguez's 3 children played games while Maria watched, pregnant with our second child, whom we planned to name Linda after my mother, as forgiveness encompasses recognizing both the good and the bad. The father managed the grill, having proven his steadfastness through 5 years of unwavering honesty and presence. He never overstepped, lied, or dictated our limits. He simply remained a dependable and truthful figure. "Burgers ready," he called. Thomas took charge, displaying self-assurance in his role. There was no question about his affection, nor uncertainty about his value. Uncle Jake, Rodriguez's eldest son, said, requesting an army story. "Which one?" I asked the attentive faces. "These children will grow up to be military dependents, confronting deployments and reintegrations. They need to understand that survival is achievable." So I began, adopting my storytelling voice. Long ago, a Souliter discovered that the most daunting conflicts aren't necessarily on battlefields. "Was it you, Mr. Jake?" Rodriguez's daughter inquired. "Perhaps. Or perhaps it was any soldier who returned home to find their familiar world transformed." Maria caught my gaze from across the lawn, smiled. We had shared a watered-down account of our tale with Thomas. In time, he would grasp the entirety of our struggles. For now, he merely knew that families could be bonded, that love demanded consistent effort, and that his parents had valiantly constructed the carefree life he assumed as normal. "Did the soldier triumph?" another child asked. "He endured. Sometimes survival constitutes the greatest triumph." My phone vibrated. A text from an unidentified number appeared. I almost dismissed it, then spotted the preview, "Sergeant Sullivan, your book saved my marriage." Another soldier, another bond broken due to infidelity, overcame more effortlessly because we had shared our narrative. These messages arrived weekly now. Military personnel who recognized fraud early due to their knowledge, spouses who opted for honesty instead of deceit after witnessing the consequences of lies, and families who remained together thanks to lessons learned from our errors and victories. These were the scenes that interrupted my musings. "May I open presents now?" Thomas questioned, interrupting the serenity. "Ask your mom," she responded, with a suggestion that he ask me instead. And so I consented. The celebration persisted. Ordinary, yet captivatingly ordinary, the kind of ordinary that I had once overlooked before Afghanistan, before betrayal, before understanding that ordinary was something to be earned, not bestowed. As the sun dipped below the horizon, parents gathering their children, Rodriguez assisted in cleaning up. "A good party," he commented. "Indeed. Remember when we thought this would never happen? Which part? Any of it, the tranquility, the families, the freedom to gather without scanning exits. Still scan exits. Yes, but now it's a habit, not a requirement. Progress. Is that what we call it? Better than calling it damage." He chuckled. "You're still writing. Your second book is about reintegration." Instead of the sanitized presentation, "Have you inquired about Michelle recently?" "No, not at all. She's no longer significant now. simply a cautionary anecdote in someone else's narrative. It's good, that's good. After everyone departed, Dad assisted with dishes while Maria put Thomas to sleep. We worked harmoniously, two men who discovered common ground amidst the wreckage of deception. "Jake," he abruptly said, "I have something to share. Dad, please. I've rehearsed this for 5 years." He set aside the dish he was drying. "I let you down, not just by concealing the documents, but by presuming to know better. By treating you as a child instead of the man you evolved into, the man you were. You served in war, endured combat, returned home seeking backing, and I betrayed you. In my understanding, he had betrayed me. He had betrayed you. Dad, we've traversed this terrain. No, we've circumvented it, reconciled it, but I've never fully acknowledged it, so I'm acknowledging it now. I let you down as a father, as a comrade in arms, as a man, and you've granted me 5 years of forgiveness I didn't merit. This isn't pardon, it's mercy, and I'm grateful. I saw in this man who taught me to lace my shoes, to play baseball, and to serve as a soldier, who also showed me, through flaws, that even parents are flawed, fallible, susceptible to catastrophic errors and small redemptions. I pardon you, Father, entirely, not for you, for Thomas, for Linda upon her birth, for me, because harboring resentment is tiring, and I have better ways to expend my strength." He nodded, eyes glistening. "Thank you. Thank you for becoming the grandfather they deserve, even if you weren't the father I desired." We finished the chores in quietness, but it was altered now, more purified, as if the final impurity had been drained from an old wound. Later, Maria and I sat on the porch. We often found ourselves there, observing dusk. "Third party," she said, touching her belly where Linda grew. "Yes, Thomas inquired something today." "What?" "If we'd always been content." "What did you respond?" "The truth. Contentment isn't perpetual. Earned daily through making each other choices, especially when it's tough, a heavy burden for a 7-year-old, but he comprehended. He said that's why he loves us, because we choose him every day, too. A clever kid, he wore Sullivan jeans, the quality ones. My phone rang again. It was the 60 Minutes producer. We had done the interview 2 years back, yet they occasionally contacted for updates. "Jake, this is Rachel Thompson. I wanted to inform you. The segment has just won an Emmy. Your story, The Sullivan Act, the changes it brought forth have made a tangible difference. Good news." "Good. That's it. Your story received an Emmy. It doesn't matter about the story. The changes are what truly matter. Are fewer soldiers falling victim to fraudulent benefits cases since the Sullivan Act was passed? According to JAG statistics, such instances have decreased by 60%. Then that's the genuine victory. After ending the call, I shared the news with Maria. An Emmy, my husband's story won an Emmy. Our story, our story. Wondering if Michelle knows? Don't know and don't care. Not even a little sense of satisfaction. She's experiencing the ramifications of her past, employed at a small clinic with a federal conviction haunting her every day. Brian is peddling insurance in Ohio. They received what they deserved. On the other hand, we possess this. I indicated toward our home, our life, our family. We triumphed by all significant standards. When did you become so insightful? Tuesdays with my psychotherapist. Are you still attending? Regularly. Mental wellness is similar to physical fitness. Cease working on it and you'll lose it. Was that a quote from therapy as well? Actually, it was from a fortune cookie. We laughed, feeling secure in our earned joy. That night, I couldn't rest. Not due to heightened vigilance or terrifying dreams, those had dwindled into tolerable whispers. I merely contemplated. I went to my office, turned on the computer, began writing. To the soldier who has just learned about deception, it's not your fault. Whatever they did while you were away, whatever falsehoods they spoke, whatever assets they pilfered, that's on them, not you. You were serving. They were thieving. You now have two options, destruction or creation. Vengeance or reconstruction. I won't deceive you, vengeance seems more appealing in the short term. However, reconstruction endures longer. Employ the law, record everything, trust JAG, trust the system, even when it appears shattered. It functions, gradually, imperfectly, but it functions. Locate your comrades, not those who taunt you with, "I told you so," or urge you towards violence. Find those who stand by your side as you journey through chaos. They exist, sometimes in unforeseen places. Seek therapy. Yes, I understand, you're resilient. You've faced worse. You believe you don't need a civilian advising emotions. But trauma accumulates. Even the strongest can shatter under combat stress. There's no shame in seeking aid. The disgrace lies in rejecting it. Eventually, learn to forgive. Not for them, they are undeserving. For you, anger is burdensome and you've carried enough weight. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or reconciliation. It means relinquishing the burden to pick up better things. You will persevere through this. You endured combat, you will endure this too. Betrayal can be endured, and eventually, you'll comprehend that the betrayal served as a valuable gift. It unveiled their true nature, granted you the liberty to discover your own identity, and paved the way for something superior. I understand this doesn't offer much solace now. What you desire is justice, possibly retribution, definitely answers. They will be revealed. Perhaps not as you anticipate, but they will surface. In the meantime, keep moving forward, day by day, breath by breath, choice by choice, accumulating small triumphs towards something greater. You've got this, even when it seems otherwise, especially then. SFC Jake Sullivan, retired Marine, survivor. I shared this message on military spouse support forums, veterans groups, and other platforms where a betrayed service member might stumble upon it at Zothrizazan, struggling to reach Sephorazazan. Maria stood in the doorway. Are you having trouble sleeping? Just contemplating about how things could have been different. One decision here, another there. Michelle could have been truthful. My parents could have told the truth. Instead of resorting to violence over law, nothing of that sort transpired. We each made our own decisions, leading us here. Do you harbor any regrets? None from me, same for you. She approached me, perused my writings. This seems beneficial. Let's hope it does. Not sure. You aided me during my moments of betrayal, correct? Yes, we did reciprocate help. She kissed the crown of my head. Time for bed. Thomas has an early soccer practice. Back in my youth, it was baseball or nothing. Times indeed evolve. Absolutely, they do. Reflecting on time, 5 years since the homecoming that shattered me, 7 years since Afghanistan, a lifetime of transformations. Maria, Machim, aren't we content though, aren't we? Not merely coping or enduring, but genuinely content. She shifted to face me in the dark. Jake Sullivan. Yes, we are stupidly, monotonously, miraculously happy. We have healthy children, a secure home, purposeful work, and each other. We share coffee in the morning and wine at night. Soccer practices and birthday parties follow suit. Friends who have witnessed our darkest moments and remained by our side. Our joy is so heartwarming it could outshine any Hallmark movie. Just checking in, as there are times when this happiness seems almost unbelievable, like I might awaken to find myself back in that guest room, with Michelle keeping her distance, my world shattering once more. That's PTSD whispering. The dread of the impending doom yet to come. But here, no such ominous signs. Instead, soccer cleats, birthday cakes, and a life reclaimed through extraordinary resilience. I adore you. You too. Now, rest. It appears Thomas has inherited your morning vigor. He'll be stirring at 0530. May heaven have mercy on us. He does possess Maria's volume control, though. There is no divine intervention. We giggled softly, settling into slumber. At precisely 0532, Thomas burst in. Today's soccer match. Dad, we're going to overwhelm the Tigers. It's a casual league, dear. We'll enjoy ourselves and practice sportsmanship while besting the Tigers with good sportsmanship, Maria grumbled, hiding under her pillow. Indeed, before the morning coffee, he is undeniably mine. The day progressed as usual. Soccer training displaying Thomas' militaristic determination, originating from his family background in the military. Grocery shopping encounter with one of Michelle's old acquaintances promptly moving to another section. A park lunch with fellow military families, serving as our preferred group. One child queried, "Mr. Jake, were you a hero in the army?" To which I replied, No, simply a soldier carrying out my duties. The youngster then expressed, "My father claims you're a hero. He says you rescued many soldiers from being wronged by evil individuals." I exchanged glances with the father, a staff sergeant from the base. He acknowledged with a raised coffee in salute. "Your father is being kind?" "No," the sergeant responded, approaching me. "I'm being truthful. During my last deployment, my estranged partner attempted to deceive me in the same manner. Thanks to the Sullivan Act and your book, I was able to identify it early, safeguarding my benefits and mental well-being. Therefore, yes, hero is an accurate term. But you did more than most would you opted for law instead of retaliation. You made the choice of peace over violence, justice over revenge. You simplified things for us, which counts." He departed before I could reply. Linda tightened my hand, whispering, "Hero. Never." Later, Dad phoned for our regular catch-up. "How's Thomas with soccer? Did it go well?" "He thinks he's the next Messi." "That's great. Confidence is vital. How's Maria? Is Linda doing fine?" "Both are perfect." "And you?" "I'm good, Dad. Exceptionally good. I'm happy. By the way, Jake." "Yes, your mom would be proud of who you've become, of the father you are. She'd be so proud." "Thanks, Dad. I truly mean it. Despite our flaws, you turned out extraordinary. Just a man who endured, Dad. Nothing exceptional about that. Everything exceptional about that." After ending the call, I found Maria in Thomas's room, narrating a tale of dragons to him. I stayed in the doorway, observing. My family, rebuilt from ruins, stronger for the cracks. Thomas noticed me. "Daddy, Mom's telling a story about dragons. Good dragons or bad ones?" "Both. Some dragons guard treasures while others burn villages." As a keeper of treasures, yet willing to share with kind individuals. That's my son's spirit. Later, after Thomas dozed off, Maria and I headed back to our porch, our usual spot. "Good day," she said. "Indeed. Do you think we'll always have good days?" "Not necessarily, but I believe we'll navigate the bad ones more effectively than most. Because we've had prior experience, because we've faced greater adversity, a hopeful perspective, a pragmatic one." "When did you transform into a pessimist?" "I didn't. I'm an optimist who's been informed by life experiences." "Is that from therapy, from fortune cookies, you and your fortune cookies, wisdom in compact packages?" We remained silent, enjoying the distant drumming. The taps would sound soon, the sorrowful elegance of evening's approach. "Jake?" "Yes?" "If you could tell your past self anything, 5 years ago, when Jake was in the guest room, as the world crumbled around him, what would you say?" After pondering, I responded, "That Michelle leaving would be the best thing that wouldn't ever feel right." The act was a shift towards something more promising. His previous family made room for one that wouldn't disappoint him. He wouldn't believe it then, but he needed to experience it, just like everyone else does. Yes, echoes of taps reverberated, faint yet audible. We stood up, an old habit, showing respect to the unseen flag we knew was present. "It still hits me," Maria said when it ended. "Every time." We entered our home, attended to Thomas, prepared for the next day. Just another ordinary day in our seemingly ordinary existence. In bed, Maria questioned, "Any more messages from betrayed soldiers?" "3 today. Guide them through the process. You're making an impact. Trying. Achieving. Perhaps. Definitely." She dozed off, while I remained awake contemplating. Not about the past that had been resolved. Not about Michelle or Brian or the betrayal of my parents. Those tales were closed books. But about what was to come. Thomas growing, Linda's arrival imminent. The life we were constructing day by day. My phone vibrated. A soldier, betrayed once more, has shared his plight. Upon learning his spouse emptied their savings, I replied, "Friend, though it seems impossible now, you will be all right. Gain understanding, connect with JAG promptly, follow the chain of command, prioritize legal action over retaliation, and remember that this betrayal may one day prove to be your greatest adversity turned advantage. You'll construct something stronger from the wreckage. Trust the journey. Trust yourself. You've got what it takes." He swiftly responded, "How do you know?" "Because I experienced it. Because I lived through it. Because I'm typing this from the opposite side, where life surpasses my most optimistic expectations. When does the pain subside? It doesn't disappear, it merely becomes quieter. Other things grow louder, better things. New love, genuine family, authentic joy. The pain fades into the backdrop of a life brimming with goodness, barely noticed. Thank you for your empathy. Pass on the kindness. Once you navigate this trial, assist the next in need." I set the phone aside, embraced Maria as she murmured in slumber, snuggling up against me. We fit together seamlessly, as if designed for this particular embrace. It's been 5 years since betrayal, a lifetime since Afghanistan. Yet here we are, bound for tomorrow's soccer practice. I no longer await mortars or inspect locks or fear betrayal. Instead, I reside in this instant, this tranquility, this life that was earned through survival and reconstructed by choice. Before drifting off to sleep, I realized Michelle was mistaken. She didn't liberate herself when she filed those papers. She freed me. And this freedom led us here, to this bedroom, this family, this future extending like a pledge of countless ordinary, beautiful days ahead. Some narratives conclude with explosions, some with disclosures, some with justice meticulously dispensed. This narrative concludes with a man dozing next to the woman who assisted him in rebuilding, in a dwelling overflowing with affection rather than deception, surrounded by offspring who would never harbor doubts about their value. It culminates in a life surpassing every war-born fantasy. It ends with tranquility earned, protected, consciously embraced peace. It concludes with triumph that manifests as typical weekday evenings and Saturday soccer practices, along with regular phone conversations with a father attaining redemption one dialogue at a time. The story unfolds precisely as it ought, not with vengeance fulfilled, but with life lived fully, betrayal transformed into blessing, and finally, a soldier truly returning home. The end.